So one of the most obvious potential solutions to misinformation and the ways in which social media warps our sense of reality is to censor misinformation, to simply ban it,
That's
to
right.
have people in charge of deciding what's
Yep.
true and what's not in important cases. Um and we've seen some of that happen. I mean, we've seen just the examples I call to mind instantly are, Alex Jones getting banned.
Yep.
The New York Post article about Hunter Biden being
Right.
banned from Twitter. Every once in a while we've had these sort of these episodes of censorship that are not yet totally normalized in our ecosystem, but it's definitely possible to imagine in 10
Yeah.
years that being the case. And there are many other places in the world where it's completely normalized.
Yep.
So here it also does seem, on the one hand, I'm a very pro free speech guy, so I really do think it tends to make sense to allow misinformation to exist and to combat it with more speech, because inevitably I tend to not trust the people deciding what's true and what's not.
Yep.
But on the other hand, I think it would be dishonest to say that censorship could never possibly work ever.
Yeah. Agree with you. Well,
Right?
so
Like,
if I can just give a quick reaction, or did
sure,
you want to
yeah.
finish? Yeah.
No, that's it.
Um, so, I mean, in agreement with you about the basic diagnosis there, and then I want to add a couple elements that seem important to put on the table. So, number one, the United States and other democratic societies properly are committed to an ideal of freedom of expression. That seems to me defensible, important, and we should be really glad we have that constitutionally in the United States. And the chief problem you're trying to avoid there is the government being a censor, not local companies or communities who aren't subject to the First Amendment. So there's no First Amendment violation when a company takes down someone's speech. So it's not a legal problem in that respect, but it is, I'm agreeing with you here, a problem from a society that should value freedom of expression. So then the question becomes, in my mind, I think we fixate too frequently on banning or deleting speech, which I'm with you, I think should be rare. And we ought to pay more attention to the algorithmic upranking and downranking of speech, because I think that's where most of the action actually is. So in the book, we start this chapter about social media by observing that we live in an age of superabundance of content. There's so much content now because of the internet that we need a search algorithm to surface what we look for online. We need an algorithm that upranks and downranks information in our news feeds. And that feature of what happens online about how we are fed content, I think, is the key thing to appeal to. So if there's a lot of evidence about a particular, say, I don't know, vaccine misinformation circulating online, and the companies decide to downrank that rather than banning it, it allows people who still want to search for it, allows people who still want to engage with it a chance to find it, but it won't be served up to you, or it won't be upranked in because it's been engaged with. That seems to me a sensible approach and relies upon the kind of internal policies of companies rather than a government imposition from the outside. That's the kind of approach that we favor in the book, and seems to me to make sense.
Yeah, so that's I'm not sure if that's exactly what people mean by shadow banning on Twitter.
Shadow banning, at least as I understand, would be it's neither upranked or downranked. It will never show up in your feed unless you search for it, actually.
Yeah, so it's basically just down regulating someone.
That's right.
Right. So that's the kind of thing that could only exist on the newer Twitter, not that new anymore, but the new Twitter that is no longer just a timeline where
That's right.
everything
And not
is
a reverse chronology. Yeah,
right.
that's right.
It's leaning into the fact that we're now using an algorithm to decide what you see. And
Yep.
one of the many preferences we're going to optimize for is truth value as we see it, for
Yep.
at least for important claims. I mean, that doesn't seem crazy if you're already having an algorithm. If I already accept that Twitter has an algorithm deciding what I'm going to
Right.
see based on some values, like whether I'm likely to click on it, engage with it, and so forth. And it wants to not show me what it, or down regulate vaccine misinformation in a
Right.
way that doesn't make it impossible for it to
Yep.
show up if I care enough.
You got it.
Yeah, so that's, I mean, in theory that seems like it could work. Of course, there is always the problem of who is determining what's true and what's not,
Yep.
and the biases inevitably of those people. And when it comes to big tech, there's a marked left-wing bias on hot button culture war issues
Right.
that is going to definitely frustrate the entire cultural right. And I've noticed, I've noticed on Twitter that the fact that shadow banning exists at all, and I'm not
Mm-hmm.
sure actually how often it happens,
Yep.
leads to an immense amount of paranoia
Yep.
in people who falsely think that they have been shadow banned. Or I get messages all the time, asking if someone has been shadow, like when I haven't been tweeting for like a long time, people will
Right.
be like, your tweets aren't showing up. I'm
Right.
like, no, I actually just haven't tweeted in a week.
Right.
And that happens often enough that it's I've really noticed the degree to which people are become paranoid of persecution when there's a very small amount of
Yep.
shadow banning going on, which
That's right.
is kind of a consequence worth worrying about.
Agree entirely. Let me try out on you another idea. I'll put it in the form of a question to you. So a colleague of ours at Stanford, a woman named Renee DeResta, has this
Yeah.
nice line, which is that no one should think that they're guaranteed to freedom of reach. You're only guaranteed freedom of speech. And what I think she means by that is, if you get deplatformed on Twitter or YouTube or Facebook, you still can go say the identical thing out on the street corner. No one has blocked your freedom of expression. What they blocked you from is the algorithmic amplification of your speech. And in part because companies aren't subject to the First Amendment in the same way that it binds government, I'm sympathetic to that orientation in the following sense. Like the paranoia that you just described is that this platform has been amplifying my content to my followers, and suddenly I don't get a whole lot of engagement. Well, I must have been shadow banned, or I must have been downranked. And I can see how that would be frustrating, especially if someone was making a living, that was their source of income, say as a creator on YouTube or something. But as a matter of freedom of expression, you haven't been blocked from expressing yourself. What you've been blocked from is algorithmic amplification to lots of people. And I don't know if I really am that worried about that at the end of the day, because I like this line: freedom of speech is not freedom of reach. Like there's no guarantee to algorithmically promoting what you have to say.
So the thing about that strikes me as not quite right is the variable of these tech platforms being virtual monopolies.
Mm-hmm.
Or I guess we can talk about whether they
Yep.
are in fact monopolies, but like there's Parler.
Yep.
If you want to go, if you're too conservative for Twitter,
Right.
But I mean, the moment any of these big tech giants, Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, TikTok, once they enter a lane, the network effects make it
Yeah.
such that
Yeah.
it's unlike really the standard model of private businesses we've known up till now.
Yep. Absolutely.
And so to be banned from one of them is not to have a buffet of other options one can go to.
That's
It's
right.
sort of to be kicked out of the game.
Yes. Yes. agree with you there. So if you're deplatformed and you no longer have access to the very thing that everyone else is on because of the network effects, this virtual monopoly, I think that is correct. Like, still, strictly speaking, you have freedom of speech. You can go bark on the street corner if you want. But if the online expression of speech is as important, as it seems to me, as the offline expression of speech, then you want access to the network. So one solution, I think this is where you were heading, is antitrust, in order to ensure that we have multiple different networks with different content moderation approaches themselves, and we can sort ourselves into those content moderation networks, social networks that we wish. The problem to confront there is that if the network effect is going to be that strong, people will naturally gravitate over time to the place where the greatest number of people happen to be in order to reach the largest number of people. Even if we broke the companies up today, we should expect to see a return to a quasi-monopoly over time. And that's when I think another technical feature comes into play. We need some type of data portability or data interoperability. So just as if you and I change our cell phone carrier, we can port our number over to the new carrier. If we can find a way suitably privacy protected to port our social graph over to a different provider, then we chip away at that network effect. And that's a technical problem.
What would that look like? I'm not sure I totally understand what you're getting at.
So let's say you get banned from Twitch or Twitter or whatever, and you think,
for
well,
criticizing Soylent too much.
Yeah, for criticizing Soylent too much, just hypothetically. Yes. If there's no meaningful other competitor, you've got nowhere else to go. And that's the core objection that I hear you giving, and I think it's right. So in a world in which you're banned now from this one platform, but you could take your social connections with you to another platform. So if you could port the people you're currently connected to on Twitter over to Gab, say, instead of having to have everyone be on Gab automatically in order then to make individual connections with them, that would be a form of interoperability across platforms that would chip away at the network effect. As I say, it'd be really important to do this in a privacy protected manner. And that's what makes this a technical problem, not so much a policy problem. I mean, I'm not the one as the philosopher to answer exactly how difficult the technical problem is, but conceptually, it seems pretty straightforward. Oh, let's promote competition in the marketplace of social media companies by allowing people to shift their entire social graph across different providers, where the providers vary in terms of their content moderation strategies. And then you could have multiple big companies with big social graphs, and it doesn't feel like you've got no other option if you get deplatformed from one.
So yeah, I get deplatformed for talking about Soylent, and then I transfer all my Twitter followers over to TikTok or something.
And off you go.
That's interesting.